All right, guys, so brief update. I always say that every time, but brief update on the EG. It's back in the garage. We did quite a few things to it since the last time we saw it. This is going to be horrible because you can't really see a whole lot, but motor and transmission are stabbed. Last time you guys saw it, the transmission was on a bench. We had it pulled apart. I did rebuild this myself. I went all the way down to an empty case and looked at both gear stacks and replaced what I thought needed to be replaced. And it's very healthy transmission now. It does have carbon synchros across the board. It does have a factory Honda limited slip in it. It is still 5-speed. We didn't do any sort of 6-speed conversion, even though Alex was pretty heavy on my case about trying to do a 6-speed, which at the time, I mean, I'll probably regret it one day, but it's really, like, if I'm being honest, it's really not that difficult to, for one, I guess, take it out of the car and go back to it if I need to. But my concern with the 6-speed is not just 6 gear changes. To get a genuine 6-speed, the gear ratios across the board changed, and I didn't really want to go through a whole gear stack and change all the gear sets. So what it is it's a 5-speed EP3 gearbox with carbon synchros in it and a limited slip. So pretty happy about that. We made it up. I guess it was last Saturday I completed the transmission. After work Friday, I started working on it, got it completed Saturday, got the transmission mounted to the engine Saturday night, and then Alex and Corey came over and helped me stab this thing in the car. It was kind of a pain in the butt, but it really, once we figured it out and got everything adjusted where it needed to be adjusted, it wasn't that bad. I do need to change one thing. This is a K24, so this bolt here, it should be mounted in the lower mount because it's a taller block, so the block needs to sit lower in the car, and this is mounted to the block. So it's got to go here. My hood, which I have a hood now. I went to Dallas and found this. It was supposed to be taffeta white, and looking at them in the daylight, they look like taffeta white in the parking lot, and I get it home, and I'm pretty sure that this is champion white, and this is taffeta white. So this is more like a bright white. This is kind of like a yellowish white, but it does match enough to where I can push this car out in the driveway and not have to worry about it looking like it's just a car with no hood. And I don't know, at the time it didn't have a motor in it, so it just looked bad in the driveway, and I didn't want it to look bad in the driveway. So I'm pretty happy with the hood. It's not that bad. I think it's an aftermarket. It looks like it was standing with a brick, but it's better than no hood, so that's what we got. Anyways, engine is mounted. I started running the harness, like, just to see where things fell, to see how much modification I had to do or any sort of wiring. This is a Carrot Top tuning harness. It's actually fairly decent. I like the quality of it. The connectors are solid. I know there was some, it's not which I've never felt either, right? So I don't know what a high quality raw wire harness feels like, and I don't know what a $48 eBay harness feels like, but I can tell you, like, this looks pretty decent. Some of the shrink wrap could be a little bit better, like sealed up a little bit better, but for a car that sits in the garage or sits in the driveway with the hood closed, it's not going to be that big of a deal. All the wires look really solid. All the connectors are really solid. They have good clips, like when they snap on, it gives you that satisfying clunk. Everything for the most part looks good. It's got a bunch of auxiliaries. Oh, well, here, I think I don't have to use a reverse lockout because this is a 5-speed, so this can actually be repinned or reprogrammed for something else under the hood unless I get a 6-speed with a reverse lockout. So that's something additional I can use. And then it already has the wire for a B series temperature sensor, which would go here once you do the conversion. And that is pretty much just to get the dash operational. The actual coolant sensor, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong on this, I'm pretty sure is down here on a K, I think. Let's see what this is. ECT, so engine coolant temp. Yeah, so that's the one that the engine's actually, or the ECM is actually reading. This is just built into the harness to where you can unpin this wire from the connector back here, run it under your firewall and back to the dash, so you have a functioning gauge on your dash. Everything else, I'm not gonna lie, like high quality, labeled. It didn't have that weird raw wire, like yellow wrapping and all that. You can actually cut these off if you wanted to make it just look like a factory black harness, which once I get everything plugged in, I might do that once I know where everything goes. But we'll see, just to give it a cleaner look. So harness for the most part it's not installed, it's just kind of here, but engine's installed. Hood, not too much else has changed with the car. Oh, we did do something to the car. Hang on, let me get down here. Oh, by the way, if you don't have one of these lights, this is like some Amazon, Instagram, I don't know, some ad I got suckered into, but it's pretty impressive. Like, I love this light. It's got 3 light bars. You can change them and move them however you want to. And I really like it. It was not a bad purchase at all for as much stuff as I get suckered in on Amazon and Instagram and whatnot. It's pretty good deal. So I usually just can't play. But we have done brakes. So this is, well, if I'm not mistaken, there's a lot of things that I got to figure out, but this is a Mini Cooper rotor off of a non-S type. This is a base model Mini Cooper rotor, which gives you the 4 on 100 bolt pattern to put on your hubs. These are actually 36 millimeter axles and aftermarket hubs, but the rotor still works with these, works great. If I'm not mistaken, these are Honda CRV brake calipers. There's a certain year that you have to buy for these. And then these are TSX brake pads. One thing I will note, when you do use TSX pads on these rotors and how this caliper functions, the little wear tab or the squeaker that is supposed to grind on the rotor before it really starts making a lot of damage to your rotors, it interfered with the caliper itself. So I had to break that off of the brake pad before I installed it. It took me like 10 minutes to figure out what the hell was binding, why they wouldn't go in. I pulled the caliper off because I had this installed. I was just trying to get this to work and just slide the pads on, it wouldn't go in. So once I had everything apart and looked at it, I realized that the squealer on it's like a little metal flapper deal. I had to break it off, but it is fully functional now. And I figured if I ever drive this car enough to get to the point of it needing brake pads before I know it needs brake pads, and we've got a problem anyway. So that's the only thing you gotta really worry about if you're doing this sort of conversion on this car. Obviously coilovers they've been installed for quite some time. I do have a brake line tuck kit from Finishing Lines. So all these hoses are new. It goes up, it goes back into the firewall. This is still loose. I've got to drill into the firewall here and put a bulkhead and run lines in the rest of the car. So everything outside the car is completed. Of course, everything's gonna have to be gone over once we get like the car on the ground or close to getting on the ground. So nothing is, as far as alignment stuff, right? So I guess upper, lower ball joints, I still need to do the cotter pins in it. I still need to have the steering adjusted, toe in, toe out, adjusted, and then set and locked down. But for the most part, I just wanted to get this car on the ground and get it rolling, get it moving around. Everything on the subframe is tight, but upper, lower ball joints are tight, but they're not cotter pin because I'm thinking that I'm probably gonna have to pull this out at some point in time. But anyways, I have, just so you guys know, I don't know if you will or not, axles are RSX axles. They are 36 millimeter. The driver's side fits phenomenally. It has just enough give to where I think it's gonna work perfect. The passenger side, the axle's about 3/4 of an inch too short. It does engage, it does lock down, but you can tell, hang on, here you go. So driver's side's okay. Not terrible. It can maybe be a little bit shorter, but I've heard this works really well. Sorry for the rust. It's not like this car. The passenger side axle is stretched out pretty good. This car's not on the ground, but it is pulled pretty hard when I ran the axle nut in. So I want to look into, I think, a newer style Honda Civic. There are certain types that have the 36mm hubs or axles, and this is that's a little bit longer than this axle, so I might go to that. It's fairly cheap on Rock Auto, so that shouldn't be that big of a deal. As far as everything else, man, next step is I need to do pulleys, belt, starters, wiring. Oh, something I forgot to mention. If you watched the previous video, I said I had an upgraded spring kit for the transmission. Get this out of the way. Sorry, guys. It is pretty crisp. Like it's solid. I'm hoping that transfers into the shifter, because the shifter in the car is kind of wet noodly. Here's some small things. No. I did get a new clip. For my hood latch. Pretty excited about that. And along those lines, this is my greatest achievement. Everything's still in here, like conversion harness. Like, you know how project cars get, they just start storing stuff. This is my favorite part about the car. Yep. My hatch works. I'm super excited. I read out all the hardware. They had some, I don't know if you guys know or not, but I bought this car and it was, I wouldn't say pieced together, but it definitely wasn't in the shape that it should have been when it was, if I was to drive it and own it. So I obviously bought these new struts. I went and changed all the hardware out, got the rear wing fitting like halfway decent on the back side of it. I have a wiper delete kit to get rid of this motor and all that, but there's, along those lines, the rear suspension, when we went in to do the rear suspension, this is horrible, man. I hope you guys appreciate the fact that my garage is a mess because I actually work in it, but rear suspension, you can't see anything. It's done. These are Integra discs, brand new calipers, brand new pads. I think they're Hawk pads all the way around. And then K-tuned uppers, lowers, K-tuned rear trailing arm bushings, K-tuned front toe joints. I do have an Integra sway bar that is going to go on the back here. And I also bought the bigger Integra sway bar to go on the front. But what I was getting at was, this is why when you buy a project car, you should really pay attention to what you're doing and maybe go further down than what you thought, because this was supposed to be a roller. They just pulled the motor out of it and sold it as a roller, but there was a lot of things on this car that I'm glad that I went into, primarily the rear suspension, because the rear suspension was trash. They had a lot of bolts in the back that were just wrong, too short, stripped out, messed up. And when we got in there, we realized that a lot of the stuff, well, I say a lot, there was 3 bolt holes that had to be helicoiled to take a proper bolt. In pretty significant joints. It was the upper control arm joints going into the chassis. So I'm glad that we took this all apart and redid it, just because I want to make sure that this car is like a fairly safe driver. It is a car that I plan to put my kids in. I want to make sure that the suspension is tight, the brakes are tight, everything's supposed to function like it should, and that it's a really, really safe car, other than the fact that it's, you know, it's a project. It's got no AC, no heat, no nothing like that. But I do not want to put somebody that I care about in this car. I mean, I would put Alex in this car if it wasn't safe, but he would get it if something was to happen. But anyways, I don't want to put anybody I care about in this car without being as safe as I know. I want to make sure that it is as safe as can be, even though it is a really, really tiny car on a public street. For the most part, I want it to be good and clean and fun and safe. And I think that we are to a point where we're really starting to go back together with this thing. I know I probably showed you this, but this is all the finish line stuff at the back. So clutch master, brake master, single line going through the firewall, all that's going to be routed inside. I do have a clutch line for it to come up to the slave. It has a new clutch in it. But yeah, we're making progress on it. I'm glad that I have a hatch that works and a hood that fits and a motor that's in it. So that's about it for this one. as most of you can imagine, this one's still collecting junk, just sitting on it. I haven't touched it, and I feel really guilty about it, but it'll get there. We'll get there. I don't know when, but it'll happen. So that's about it. I appreciate you guys watching my videos. I know I don't have a whole lot of subscribers or followers, but the people that I do know that talk to me always give me crap for not uploading more videos. And yeah, this is it. So I hope that it is running and driving potentially next couple months, or at least running in the next couple months, and then we'll worry about the driving thing, and then we should be off and having some fun in that thing. So anyways, buy one of these lights, no lie. Coolest thing I've had in forever. And if you have a garage like me that has no light, just makes your life a hell of a lot easier. So enjoy it. I guess this weekend's going to be kind of slow. Update on that. We are going to an event called Crawfest. Actually a bunch of my buddies are going. We have 1/10 scale RC crawlers that we're going out to like north of Fredericksburg to go rock crawl some toy trucks, and I'm taking the boys with me, so it should be a good time. But other than that, I will hopefully, not this coming weekend, but next weekend, be able to mount shifter cables, clutch hydraulic line, finish up some of the wiring in the car, mount the radiator, try to figure out what sort of hoses I need, and then, I don't know, potentially buy the axle that fits in the passenger side. I think just want to get it running and rolling, but I don't trust it to put any sort of horsepower down. So the goal here is to, how about this, fairly cheap. It looks kind of cheap, but it's going to be okay. I think this is where the factory heater lines come through. We're going to mount that to the firewall as a pass-through engine harness on one side, shifter cables on the other side. So it should be a nice clean install. And then, what else? Next step is header. I've got to buy a header for it. I don't know if I want to do a full exhaust on it yet or not. I think that I probably will end up doing that, regardless of if it's turbo or not. And for the time being, it's going to be NA, so I might as well put like a full exhaust on it. But full exhaust, get it wired, get the radiator in, figure out my intake. I do have aftermarket throttle body and adapters and all that stuff to go here, and I've got to port some of that to make it match the RBC intake. And that shouldn't be that big of a deal. And the biggest thing would be getting the ECM hooked up, putting power to it, and seeing if it will actually turn over. The chassis conversion hardness I'm a little bit worried about, because it seems fairly easy on paper, but I hate electrical work, so I'm gonna figure it out the hard way, I guess. But anyways, that's it on the car. Appreciate you guys listening to me ramble on. I know these videos aren't exciting, but I do appreciate you watching it. And I guess until the next time I post, that's it.